Hey, what's going on? It's Patrick here from Brewer Consulting. Topic for today is, should you acquire an advisory business? This is something that I went back and forth on for a number of years. And when I was 28, I actually ended up purchasing a book of business up in Sacramento, California. It didn't end up working out super well for me, and I can't really get into the details on it. But what I feel like advisors need to know about acquiring another book of business is first the financial side of it, right? So let's say you are considering acquiring a book of business, and one of the clients inside of that book has $1 million in assets, and you and the seller have gone back and forth, and you discussed what you believe to be a fair price for the clients at about a 3x revenue multiple. 2 to 3x is generally what's kind of the average for fee only or even a fee-based practice, depending on kind of the structure of the book. So you agree to that 3x multiple, and now the value of that $1 million account, and let's say it's a 60-year-old husband and wife, is $30,000. So that's a pretty significant price to pay for a 60-year-old client with $1 million in assets, 30 grand. So what, in your mind, what you should be thinking if you're in the market to acquiring advisory businesses is, can you acquire a 60-year-old account, or regardless of age, an account that has $1 million for less than $30,000? Yes, you absolutely can, using a marketing strategy that actually converts. So my thought with acquiring advisory businesses, the only reason you should do it is if you can't put a marketing or sales strategy in place where you can actually get business on your own, and you need to buy the trust from someone else. And then the challenge is, if you've committed to continuing to buy advisory practices and you've got other partners and advisors that are part of your firm, what value are you really providing to them, honestly? Because what advisors are looking for from a leader, from the person who's driving the strategy of the firm, is the ability to get them in front of more people strategically from a sales and marketing perspective, so that they can make more money and they can build more equity for themselves. So what you're doing fundamentally by buying other practices is you're admitting to yourself and to your staff and to everyone else that you don't have a system in place to be able to consistently generate new business. So you need to buy the trust and the resources from somebody else. Now, there's tons of other challenges that go along with this. It requires a very specific alignment in personalities to make sure that this transaction actually gets to the point where it's fruitful for both parties. So there's tons of risk along the way, but just that sheer number of paying $30,000 for $1 million account, when you could easily get a $1 million account for $800 to $1,200 using a series of online marketing strategies, or even direct response marketing using direct mail and things like that. Worst case scenario, I just find it pretty crazy. And then on top of that, with my firm, we've actually modeled out over 32 million in inheritance transfers over the next 10 to 15 years. And that's going to come from somewhere. That's going to come from the investment that you're most likely making in acquiring these books of business that, in my opinion, are going to be worthless in 10 to 15 years. So you need to be really careful when you decide to write that check, whether it's bank finance, whether it's seller finance. If it's seller finance, it's a little bit lower of a risk, but you're still pulling your time and your energy away from you and your staff, and not creating what you ultimately need to create, which is a consistent strategy to get in front of people so that you can bring in new prospects and convert them to clients, and then make a fantastic client experience on the back end so that you can increase your organic growth rate. So if you're spending a lot of time and energy looking for sellers, you're doing those things, and you're trying to buy practices, I think that your energy could be spent in a better way by building a consistent approach to getting people in the door, converting them effectively at a low cost, and then creating a client experience that's going to convert. So I'd love to hear your feedback and your comments on this video. I just feel like there's a lot of advisors that think that the solution is to just buy up books of business, and it's really a Band-Aid. It's a Band-Aid because at some point, all those books are going to be acquired, and all of those clients are eventually going to transfer to advisors like me and the people that I train, who are building a systematized process for getting clients that are a little bit younger and keeping them as raving fans of our firm. So I'd encourage you to think about that before you pull the trigger on buying an advisory firm. All right, guys, have a good weekend.